agree that Mr. Edelman can present for my review the videos involved in this case. Uh, I'm asking because if he did it on his own, even if we agreed informally, I I don't want to complain later that we have had a ex parte communication, which it would be if he did it without your explicit or express agreement.
No, Judge, I would be fine with having the court review them, but I also think that there's some discovery issues, which I mean, obviously, Mr. When the officer, if the officer ever shows up, it'll, I guess, be some questions that I have for him about where other portions of missing videos are. But I have no problem with the court reviewing what Mr. Edelman has given me.
Okay.
I think it's going to all be relevant. I think that the most critical videos that the officer, I think at one point claims that my client tore his camera off his chest. So obviously, if that happened, there should be a video from prior to the tearing off of the video of the camera. So we don't have any of that. We really have everything that starts at a point kind of post that. So, I mean, I've been asking for those videos for years now because they should certainly exist. And so if Officer Prescott ever decides to come into this hearing, that would be a discovery question I have as well. But yes, we have no objection, Judge, to seeing what we've been given.
Okay. Well, my concern is that that would certainly be important evidence if it exists, and it should. Because don't the cameras come on prior to even a stop or confrontation?
Absolutely, Judge. They're supposed to. I think you can get enough from even the discussions in this video to see kind of what precipitated the detention and, to me, what I believe was the unlawful detention and arrest of my client. But so you can hear the discussions of some of the police officers and what led up to it. But yes, I agree that, there's, for all extents and purposes, that video should exist. And I've never been given it. I've been told because, it doesn't exist and it doesn't make sense because, this officer indicates that, that's why he didn't have the video, because it rendered the camera unable to function, but yet we have the video after that. So
supposedly from the same individual camera?
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I mean, if Mr. Edelman can jump in if he thinks I'm not representing what's on those videos properly.
Is that Mr. Arnold?
Good afternoon, sir.
How you doing, guy?
Good. Yourself, sir?
All right. When's the OCS start up?
Next weekend.
Next weekend?
Yes, sir.
All right. Anyway, Mr. Arnold, perhaps you can shed some light upon this darkness. We have Mr. Spratt, Michael Leonard Spratt. Ms. Wetland informs us that her impression is that they met with you, Mr. Spratt, Ms. Wetland, yourself. I don't know if anybody else was in there, and that there was a assurance from you that Mr. Spratt would be granted pretrial diversion, and if there were a rejection for whatever the reason, that you assured her that the case would wind up being something of an informal pretrial diversion, wherein the result would be the same, that the case would be dismissed. Now, you may remember that the gentleman is charged with evading. Was it evading?
Resisting, sir.
Resisting, I'm sorry. Do you recall any of the conversations and the meeting between yourself, Ms. Wendland, and Mr. Spratt?
Vaguely, Your Honor, vaguely.
Now, the notes in the file, according to Mr. Edelman, indicate, Mr. Edelman, would you read literally what it says on there?
On
Simple
September
note.
30th of 2019, PTD approved with Mr. Arnold's signature, such as it is. There are no other notes indicating agreements between Mr. Arnold and the defense other than that.
Wait, Ms. Whitman. To me, Anthony, it doesn't say PTD being considered, PTD offered, it says PTD approved. And knowing you, that sounds pretty specific to me.
So Andrew may be able to, he has the file directly in front of him, but the way the office policies are set are they ask us to sign off on PTD. So we put, Andrew, is that note on the front jacket of that case?
Can you read it? I know it's backwards, but it's that one right there.
Yeah, that was our office policy, is that the attorneys are supposed to review the cases for PTD. We approve them. And once we initial them, then it gets sent up to the actual PTD division, and they're the ones who have final rejection or approval. That's just where we annotate our notes that we've approved it.
In other words, we approve someone's application. We don't necessarily approve them for inclusion in the program.
Well, if I may jog Anthony's memory a little bit, and possibly looking at Mr. Spratt, who's here with us, I may call your, have your attention, or maybe it'll help your memory for us to go over a little bit. This is the case with the individual at the hotel where it was the party involving Mr. Spratt's business partner and him. Officer Prescott was working, I think, as a second job. He was the hired security. And then the criminal trespass was theoretically, he was asked to leave the party, didn't leave the party. And then Officer Prescott got involved with Mr. Spratt's wife. You and I and Mr. Spratt actually went back into the room. We did not come to you with, I will probably say that I have probably never come to you, or maybe even Mr. Edelman, and asked for pretrial diversion on almost any of my cases. We did not come to you with pretrial diversion. We were set for a motion to suppress. You came to me, you asked, you said, hey, I think we can work this out without us having to do this. Can I talk to your client? We went back in the room across from probation. I said, I'm only going to do this if this is really going to get rid of these cases, because my client flew in from Virginia. He's here, he's out of town. And you said, no, it's okay. Trust me, like this is what I'm going to do. You sat down, you met with me, you met with Mr. Spratt, you asked Mr. Spratt a bunch of questions about his party, about the role, about what happened. You said, okay, this is what I think. I think that I'm going to dismiss the one having to do with the criminal trespass, because I think that that's, ridiculous. How can you trespass at your own party when you were supposed to be part of this company? Then you also went on to say, and on this other case, we're going to do a pretrial diversion. And actually, I came back and asked you, because initially you were like, I'm not sure right now if it's going to be conditional or if you're going to have to actually go through the program. But if you take an anger management class, it's going to get dismissed. This is what's going to happen. And I came back to you and I said, what do you want us to do? How do you want us to do it? And you said, well, put in the application and we'll go from the, and have them take the class. That's what we did. Then I don't know how much time passed. We eventually got a rejection of that he wasn't going to be accepted. I'm not sure if you told me or the next prosecutor or whatever, somebody told me that was because Officer Prescott didn't want that to happen. Does any of that at all ring a bell to you?
Somewhat.
And Mr. Spratt, I mean, he could tell you what you asked him. I mean, because you asked him a bunch of questions about the party and about, you know, his role and his job and his background. And
Mr. Spratt's a paramedic.
Correct.
yes, he's a paramedic. He's part of the paramedic company, and his wife is the
Yeah.
doctor, and they're military. And you
Mhm.
talked to him a bunch about their military
Yeah,
background.
yeah, I remember the conversation.
So yeah, so we never came to you, like when you initially said that, and Andrew was saying, well, did you, you know, this is, I didn't come to you and you didn't mark down like a approved, like a normal pre-PTD. That is never what happened. You came to me and asked us to go back in that room. I mean, we were actually at the bench. And I think that was when you said, well, let's do this. Because I think that we, you know, we can do this without actually having to have this hearing. And I believe that either you were not ready that day. I mean, there was something, you know, some reason why I was willing to agree to it, probably just so that we didn't end up being where we are right now, so that this could kind of be done with for Mr. Spratt. But anyway, I did not make a recording of the meeting. I just am basing it on my memory and on Mr. Spratt's memory.
Yeah, I remember meeting with Mr. Spratt and yourself.
Mr. Arnold, do you believe that the impression that they are speaking to is a relatively accurate rendition?
I'd say generally, not specifically. Generally, that all occurred like that. Specifically, I don't remember who came to who said, who specifically requested PTD or anything, but I do remember I met with Mr. Spratt. I remember we talked about his, yeah, as Ms. Wentland said, we talked about the military. I believe his wife is a military doctor. He started a company with a friend of his. I believe that Mr. Spratt's the paramedic. Mr. Spratt's the technical knowledge of the company. His partner's the financial partner of the company. And there was a falling out and then a mending of the relationship. Kind of made this case seem as if it was more of a one-time domestic situation that really didn't need to be clogging up the court system. If I remember right, that's possibly why don't quote me on this, but I feel like that's what the criminal trespass dismissal may have been about. But at the end of the day, everything leading up to an arrest, whether it was justified or the situation was overblown or whatever happened leading up to that situation, whether or not it was just a night that kind of got out of hand. Once you get to that point, the resisting of arrest of the officer, there's no justification for resisting arrest. As far as the PTD is concerned, that's just kind of standard office policy. Hey, Andrew, what's the date that I wrote that?
September 30th of 2019.
September 30th of 2019. So, that's about 18 months ago. So that's a long time ago. Unless Ms. Wentland's unfamiliar with the PTD system, it's generally, at that time, I believe it was Ms. Judge Vasquez Gardner has final approval of everything. I can approve it, submit it. I remember, maybe not specifically with this case, but I do know that I've gone in similar situations to talk to the PTD department and ask them for situations like this where there's a defendant who's out of town or a college student in Lubbock or whatever the situation may be. if there's a way we can work out PTD in sort of another fashion. And so I remember that I've done that before. So I can't tell you specifically that I walked over and spoke to Miss Beatrice on that date and got permission that morning for her to approve Mr. Spratt or anything. But I do remember that I've done that before, and it wouldn't. If I remember right, because he's out in Virginia, correct? Or was
Yes.
at that time?
Yes.
Yeah, I got approval that, if I can remember right, I think I got an approval to do an anger management and a couple of things along those lines. And then hey, Andrew, what date is that rejection? It's shortly after, isn't it?
December 2nd, 2019.
Okay. I was leaving the jail or leaving County Court 5 around that time. And I remember reaching out to Miss Wentland. If I remember right, I had reached out and it had gone unanswered. I was clearing up my stuff. Actually, as long as I'm here at the computer. Miss Wentland, what is your email address? I'm going to search this really quickly.
You can search for my name. It's just carolyn.wentland@gmail.com.
On October 7th, 2019, Ms. Wentland, per our conversation on September 30th, I have approved your client for PTD. Please apply at your earliest convenience. So I have that email that I sent to her. Let me see if I have anything else.
Yeah, so that's after our September 30th date, right? Because that's, I think, because in September 30th, you were between a conditional dismissal or PTD was what we had originally discussed.
Yeah, I believe that may have been the conversation. That does sound right, that I was going to try to do a conditional dismissal of some sort or PTD. I just had to get it approved. And the email's dated October 7th. And so it looks like our conversation was September 30th. And I let you know that I approved your client for PTD. And so you had to apply for PTD at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he got everything in and we did that. And then got rejected and then got denied, I guess, in December. So I think that I was told by somebody that the reason for the denial was because the officer didn't want it. Do you recall that at all?
I do not. By that point, I would have been out of County Court 5.
I think that that's what happened. I think you left. And so I couldn't really, and I think you were trying to do what should have happened with this case, which is it should have been gone a long time ago. And unfortunately, then you left and then, we went into 2020 and now here we are with, yet a second continuance in the last couple of weeks with the state. So I appreciate you checking all that, Andrew. Anthony.
Andrew, can you do me a favor and look at the file?
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, thanks. Can you look at when I wrote my note again?
September 30th, 2019.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I'm. And when is the application in the file?
Yes,
Is there
it
an
is.
What's the application date? Or is there a note on the front of the file that says application received or anything?
There is a stamp received November 8th, 2019. Contact with Officer Prescott was made shortly afterward on November 15th, and the rejection decision was apparently made on November 22nd.
That's my recollection. Officer Prescott had a lot to do with it, so.
Okay. So yeah, so it looks like we had our conversation on the 30th. I approved it and let you know of that on the 7th of October. It took you a month to get the application in, and then it got denied.
Anything else?
Nothing from myself, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Anything else,
Anthony.
Ms. Wendland? Any other question of Mr. Arnold? Ms. Wendland?
No, because I think that I think I appreciate Mr. Arnold supporting pretty much my memory of what happened as well. So
Okay.
thank you for your time.
Anthony, thank you for your time and your responding to us.
Absolutely.
If you choose.
Take care.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and reset this. Meantime, I want to see these videos. And Mr. Edelman, I want you to obtain what you got. Also look to the issue that Ms. Wetland has raised. If there's a claim by the officer that Mr. Spratt ripped the camera off of his uniform or wherever it was located, is that consistent with supposedly the same camera having video afterwards? I don't know. It's an issue that you might want to look at possibly from the view that this could be information important to the defense.
Your Honor, when we have Officer Prescott under oath and testifying, I think the court can ask that question to him directly.
I'm sorry?
I think the court will be able to ask Officer Prescott that question directly. I don't have any information specifically about how the cameras do or do not operate. I think Officer Prescott should be the best source of information for that.
I don't doubt that. I'm suggesting to you that you look at what is alleged, not that you're going to be a witness on it, but look at it from keeping that thought in mind. And I'll want to look at those, review those videos, whatever they may be. Now that we're here, what are we gonna reset this to? And I'm not going to do it by tomorrow because we've got things to review. Period. Patricia, what do we have? And Ms. Whitland, let's come up with some dates and availabilities. Make sure we're not going to have. Now, am I to the motion to suppress will be video conference?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor. I'm fine with it being video conference. That's perfect.
Yeah. In other words, we're not going to have Mr. Spratt and his wife come over here just for a motion at this point that can be done virtually. So where are we? Date? At least 30 days, Patricia?
Oh, 30 days, okay.
I would like it as soon as possible, Judge, is what we would like, and not during spring break.
You want to suggest me a timeline? You want to
Well,
suggest a timeline?
I don't want to, I mean, Mr. Edelman, what is your timeline with Mr. Prescott? You have no non-availability?
Court's free Thursday afternoon. Prescott told me he's available starting tomorrow through Friday and every week thereafter for the foreseeable future. So I'll take him at his word.
Um,
All right, I'm
Mr.
still
Spratt,
listening. Give me a date.
When
Mr.
is your
Spratt, do you know
spring
when,
break?
what, Patty?
When is your spring break?
The next week, not this week, next week is my spring break, so,
The 8th?
yeah. So not next week. But Mr. Spratt, do you know what your wife's schedule is? Because with her medical commitments, do you know what her schedule is?
I do, but the only thing I have coming up is my older children from Texas are flying in during their spring break, and it's the 10th through it's the 15th through the 19th. So if
So,
it's possible not to have it then.
How about Monday, March 22nd?
let me just check mine. That should be fine for me. In the afternoon?
Yes, ma'am, 1:30.
Okay. That sounds good for me.
My schedule is clear.
I think she can make that actually.
All right. Then we're reset to Monday, March 22nd, 2021. I better add that 21. Sometimes these things get way out of line.
20, I think it's 22nd, Your Honor, isn't it?
Did I say 22nd?
I think you said 21, sir.
No.
Oh, he was saying he is saying 2021.
Oh, my mistake.
No problem.
And Judge, so then can you, for the record, I guess you're granting his motion for continuance, second motion for continuance or whatever it is for the state. Just so
Personally, I
that,
don't know that it's a motion for continuance. Did you file a motion for continuance, Andrew?
No, sir.
No. It was a request for a reset. And he had been in touch with defense by Friday, which has already been part of the record.
4:20 on Friday. It's kind of late.
Well, that's better than Monday morning at 9 a.m. or 8:59 for a 9 o'clock hearing. All right, which I appreciate Mr. Edelman doing that.